Hello, welcome to Tap That MTG, the show where we tell you everything we know about magic. That's probably wrong, but fun to talk about anyway.
Super fun.
I'm Shauna.
I'm Leslie.
And today we are going to bring you a detailed deep dive into one of the new commander decks that's coming out right away. If you don't have your commander decks ordered, you better get them ordered because they're going fast because they are awesome. And so the first one we're going to talk about is Merciless Rage. So this one is my favorite. This is the one I've pre-ordered. So this one has Angie Falconwrath for the commander, and she takes advantage of the whole idea of the madness theme that's in this deck. So we'll talk about that as we get.
Which, of course, you don't love because of madness. You love because she's a vampire.
I love it because she's a vampire, but I also love the whole idea of madness. When I first started playing Magic, it was with Innistrad, and that was one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I still remember when you first started playing your first madness deck, and you're like, you could just see your face light up. It was like, oh, and then I'm going to do this, and then look, I'm going to discard this card, but then I'm going to play it for one. Haha.
It was awesome.
So we have lots of cards in this that do
Yes. So she is a vampire for one, and a black and a red. And she has haste, so you can do her thing right away, which is tap her, discard a card, and draw a card. And whenever you discard a card, if it has madness, untap Angie. So that starts that whole little engine of madness. And she's only 3, so she's a 1/3.
So would you put her out like early game so that you can start getting things going, or would you wait until you had enough mana to try and get a few madness?
Well, it depends what you have in your hand, right? You want to make sure that when you're discarding that you can take advantage of that. If you're not taking advantage of that, don't put her out yet, because you don't want her to die.
Right. Because what happens if they die in Commander? For those
you have to pay 2 extra for each time she's died. So yes, so you don't want her out there if she's not going to be doing any work for you yet.
There is one card in this deck that will allow you to save your commander from dying by returning it to your hand. We'll get to that, but yeah, you want to kind of make sure you know what's in your hand before you decide to put her out on the battlefield. But nice that she only costs 3.
Yeah. So in this podcast, we're going to go through all the cards based on what we talked about in our previous one about building your commander deck, that you need card draw cards, you need mana fixing cards, and all those things. So we're going to talk about the cards in this deck along those lines.
And some of the cards that we have will fit into more than one category, but we've put them into a category based on what we think will be the main focus of that card. So the first one is Hedron Archive, a nice little archive. I love the art on this card. You can tap it for just 2 colorless, which is great in and of itself, but you can pay 2 to sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. So card draw is super important to kind of get what you need in your hand when you need it. So this is a great little card for that.
Yeah. Then the next one is a new creature to this set, Greven Predator Captain for 3, a black and a red, for a 5/5 menace creature. So menace means they have to block with 2. And he gets +X/+0, where X is the amount of life you've lost this turn. And whenever he attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, you draw cards equal to that creature's power until you lose life, and you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. So yeah, a little complicated. You need to be planning for that because you don't want to lose too much life. But
there is a lot of creatures in this deck that are like 3/1 or 4/1.
Yeah.
So you only lose hopefully 1 life. So again, if you're going to use this, make sure you're using something with a big power but little toughness.
Yeah, to get some cards.
So our second category, that was it for card draw in this. So we are going to talk a little bit at the end about how we feel that we would tweak it. But this one here, the next thing we're going into is discard cards. Because of course, discarding cards is super important for madness. If you want to cast things for cheaper for their madness cost, you have to be able to discard cards. So there are definitely some discard cards. I would say not as many as I would like. But the first one is Magus of the Wheel. And it's just a human wizard, 2 in a red, and you can pay 1 in a red to sacrifice the card, and then each player discards their hand, then draws 7 cards. So you can discard all your 7 madness. Hopefully they don't cost very much. I would save this one until you have enough mana to actually take advantage of those madness triggers that you're going to get from discarding. So don't play this early game. A lot of people are like, well, I can do this, so why don't I do this? But wait until you have enough mana.
Sure you need to plan a little bit here. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I like this deck, is you have to be thinking a lot when you're playing it. Grimoire of the Dead is a legendary artifact, and it's cool because it's a book, which is awesome for us librarians. So you can pay 1 and tap it to discard a card, and then you put a study counter on it, which is kind of cool. And then another thing is you can tap it and remove 3 study counters from it and sacrifice the card. Put all creature cards from all graveyards, onto the battlefield under your control. They're black zombies in addition to their other colors and types. So that's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. And I mean,
you're studied hard, so you get to have lots of zombies.
1 to discard a card, you're building it up, and then as you're building it up and doing all your madness triggers,
you only need to do that.
This is an awesome card for this deck.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Then we have Key to the City. It's an artifact, so it costs 2 of any color. You can tap it to discard a card. Up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn, which is another additional. When a Key of the City becomes untapped, you may pay 2. If you do, you draw a card. Not only do you discard card, you can draw a card, and your creature, one of your creatures becomes unblockable. This is a great card that has so many for just 2, and you don't have to tap it and sacrifice it to make that happen. It stays on the battlefield. This should be in your deck for sure. Well, it is in your deck if you buy this, but don't take it out.
That's from Kaladesh. I didn't even think of that card. I've never used that card before.
Yep.
So Zombie Infestation is our next one. It's for 1 and a black enchantment, and you can discard 2 cards and put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So it just sits there. So whenever you need that discard engine, you just use it and you get a zombie.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Discarding 2 cards, that's your madness engine right there.
Exactly.
And then we have Chainer Nightmare Adept. You discard a card, and you may cast a creature card from your graveyard this turn. So not only are you going to discard a card and hopefully cast it something for its madness cost, you're also going to cast something from your graveyard, activate this ability only once each turn. So it's on the battlefield. You can do that once per turn. And whenever a non-creature token enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste. So that thing that you just brought back from the graveyard, it gains haste, and you can swing with it right away. It's a nice little, again, stays on the battlefield. You do have to remember, though, that again, this you'll have to have enough mana to cast your madness spell as well as your creature from your graveyard, because you do have to cast them.
So Angie's Ravager. So this is our first madness card, I think, that we've talked about so far. So this one is for 2 and a red, a 3/3, a vampire berserker. So it attacks each combat if able. So that's kind of annoying. But whenever it attacks, you discard your hand, then draw 3 cards.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome for this deck. So this one has madness. What is madness?
1 and a red. So basically, if you discard this card, so you have to be discarding it, then you can cast it for that madness cost. So instead of the 2 in the red, it only costs 1 in the red. So 1 in the red, you get a 3/3 out that you're discarding into your graveyard. So you're kind of, well, yeah, I would. You have to play it to try it. But anyway, so that previous card, discarding a card, so you're going to be discarding Angie's Ravager, playing another creature as well. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
You can make a lot of things happen.
So another thing in this deck that there is a lot of, there's actually more of in this deck, is Return from Graveyard. Because of course you're going to be discarding a lot of cards, and as we talked about before, you may not have the mana in your mana pool yet to actually cast that card right away. And it might be one of those really high expensive cards that you just want to put in your graveyard, because there are a ton of Return from Graveyard to the Battlefield cards where it basically lets you usurp those costs of paying that card. So the first one we have is the Champion of Stray Souls. It's a little expensive. It's 4 and 2 black. However, once it is on the battlefield, this skeleton warrior, that's 4/4, allows you to sacrifice X other creatures, return X target creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now,
To
if
the
you're
battlefield.
yeah. So ultimately, as you are doing your discarding and you're getting 2/2 zombies, so that's kind of a key thing for here. You can sacrifice those zombies to bring whatever you want back to the battlefield, which is super important. It's not to your hand, it's to the battlefield. So you sacrifice some 2/2 zombies that you got for free for whatever reason, and now you've only paid 5 to return X to your hand. Then you can also 5 and 2 to put Champion of Stray Souls on top of your library from your graveyard. So someone ends up getting rid of it for whatever reason. Not too bad. We're going to put it back on the top of my graveyards or top of my library so I can do it all over again and get it on the battlefield. So
crazy.
great.
So we also have Geth, Lord of the Vault. He is for 4 and 2 black, a 5/5 insane card with Intimidate.
Mhm.
So Intimidate is, I'll put those rules up for you. It is an evasion ability. A creature with Intimidate can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and other creatures that share a color with it. So, yes. So then, in this case, the black card, they have to block with a black creature. If they're white and green deck, they're really in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Or an artifact creature. So it's really hard to block this guy, depending on who you're playing against. You can also, with this guy, you can pay X and a black and put target artifact or creature card with converted mana cost X from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Then that player puts the top X cards of his or her graveyard or library into his or her graveyard. So if they do happen to be that kind of deck that's got those wonderful artifacts that you want to use, you can use this guy to go get them out of there and use them for yourself.
Their big, huge populate creature or something like that they have on the battlefield. And it costs 6, so you know that you have at least 6 mana to pump into that. You can converted mana cost 5 or less.
Yep. And he's just going to keep milling the other guy to keep finding lovely little things to use.
That's mean. That's why it's a mythic.
Yep.
All right. So then we have another mythic, which is Soul of Innistrad. It's 4 and 2 black. It's a 6/6 Death Touch. You can use it to pay 5, 3 and 2 black to return up to 3 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Or if it does happen to be in the graveyard, you can exile it from the graveyard for 3 and 2 black to do the exact same thing. So return up to 3 target creatures from your graveyard to your hand. So someone gets rid of it, it gets one last chance. But if they're getting rid of it, hopefully they've swung at you to do it and you've gotten rid of something that they have with your Death Touch first.
6/6 Death Touch is really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
All right, so then the next, speaking of things that are hard to deal with, Squee.
I love Squee.
Goblin Nabob.
He's just a lovable.
Squee. So this guy, he's for 2 and a red, 1/1. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you may return Squee from your graveyard to your hand. So he's just going to let you sit there and do that whole discard thing with your commander every turn kind of thing. So he never actually gets to play, probably.
Sacrifice
He's just going to keep going back and forth.
Use him to sacrifice him.
Hey,
and
I'm
then
here.
return him to your graveyard. Put him back on the battle.
Sorry, okay, I'm going back to the graveyard again.
And if he dies, whatever. You can block. He's a chump blocker. Bring him
back.
Yeah,
if you actually put him out,
Yeah. Love him. So Grave Scrabbler. It's a 2/2 zombie.
Zombies.
2/2 for 4. It has a madness, so you can, if you discard it, it only costs 2, which is great. And when it enters the battlefield, if its madness cost was paid, you may return a target creature from the graveyard from a graveyard to its owner's hand. So, of course, in this case, I would assume you'd probably want to do your own, but maybe you have some commander shenanigans going on with someone across the table that you want to work with until the end of the game. One of your allies. Maybe you want to give
We'll do that for you, Liz.
Yeah, exactly. We'll work together.
Yeah. Fun. So another card here that is just awesome. Sanitary Skeleton. Sanitarium Skeleton. He's clean.
Doesn't look very
It doesn't
clean.
look very clean, no. For 1 and a 2, he is a just a sorry 1 and a 2. He is a 1/2 for 1, but you can pay 2 and a black to return him from the graveyard to your hand. So he just cycles around. He's one of your sacrificial lambs, I call them.
I love this card. This next card is called
Oh, yeah.
Boneyard Parlay. It costs 7, 5 and 2 black. However, this sorcery allows you to exile up to 5 target creature cards from graveyards, any graveyards. Then your opponent gets to separate those cards into 2 piles. You put all the cards from the pile of your choice onto the battlefield under your control, and the rest into their owner's graveyards. So you can choose cards from other people's graveyards that you think are good. You can choose cards from your graveyard that you think are good. I don't know. There's just so many possibilities of things that could happen with this card in a game. Maybe they don't want you to have their really awesome flyer that is winning them the game, so you pull that out, you put that into one pile, and all of your cards into another pile. I don't know. Oh, they get to choose that, but
this makes it a tough decision.
It makes it a tough decision for them, right? So, I like that.
You get to pick the pot.
Yeah.
So. All right, so Beacon of Unrest is a sorcery for 3 and 2 black, and you can put target artifact or creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Shuffle Beacon of Unrest into its owner's library. So yeah, you'll get it again.
Yep, nice little rare.
Steal someone's good stuff
from their graveyard. I love that a lot of these cards aren't necessarily returned from your graveyard; they're just a graveyard, so it gives you options.
Yes.
So then we also have Call to the Netherworld. It costs 1 for a sorcery, and you can return target black creature from your graveyard to your hand. It has a madness cost of 0. So if you discard it, you just automatically get to play it, which is awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
That's an awesome card.
Yeah. Just get whatever you want out of your graveyard, pretty much.
And it's an uncommon.
Yeah. It's hard to find. Because I've tried. Hedonist Trove for 5 and 2 black. It's an enchantment. And when it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from target opponent's graveyard. Then you may play land cards exiled with it. So this is at any time. You may play non-land cards exiled with it. You can't cast more than 1 spell this way each turn. So you've basically taken that person's graveyard and made it your own to just use whenever you need to.
For the rest of the game.
Little extra hand that you can pull from. Oh, I need a land. I'll put a land out.
I love that. Yeah. And then we have Eldest Reborn, which we debated. Do we put this in removal or do we put this in return from graveyard? Ultimately, it depends on what you're wanting to. It goes in both categories. Most of the time, you use it because you're like someone's gotten rid of something and you want to bring it back from your graveyard, or maybe they have something that you want to steal from their graveyard. So, great little saga. The saga is basically each turn you're going to do one of those things. So when you put it out, it's turn 1, and you put a little a counter on it, so you know what turn you're on.
Yeah.
So on the first turn, each opponent is going to sacrifice a creature or planeswalker. They get to choose, but maybe they only have 1 out at that point in time. But it does make a hard choice. Yep. Hopefully they don't have just a bunch of tokens. However, the next turn they're going to discard a card. Hopefully they're not playing Madness. The next turn, target player or target creature, or put a target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard into the battlefield under your control. So just bring something back. That's really the main thing. So 3 turns away, you get to return something back to the battlefield. This one costs 4 on a black. So sagas are fun.
It is. And it's one of my favorite cards. Skyfire Phoenix for 2 and a red. It's a lovely little phoenix, and you can guess what it probably does at 3/3. It's a flying and haste creature, and whenever you cast your commander, you can return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. So
Phoenixes are hard to
get rid of. Phoenixes never die.
Yeah. And then we move on to removal.
Yes.
There's a lot of removal in this, which is great because you need removal in any commander deck. They have done a good job with the commander with the removal in this commander deck. The first one is Overseer of the Damned. It's 5 and 2 black, so another 7 cost, but it is a flyer and it's 5/5. And when it enters the battlefield, you destroy another target creature. So it works exactly like Ravenous Chupacabra in its enter the battlefield effects. When a non-token creature an opponent control dies, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, which you can sacrifice for one of your sacrifice
So that's
triggers.
not just when it comes out.
Yeah, that's after it's on the battlefield. So first of all, when it comes out, you're destroying something. It triggers, and then after
so you're
that,
getting the 5/5 flyer plus a 2/2 zombie.
after that, when you're using all the rest of these removals, you get some zombies that you can then just sacrifice for all those other things.
Doing lots of crazy stuff.
Awesome.
So Flayer of the Hate Bound. Wow, I'm having trouble talking today.
It's all good.
For 5 and a red, it's a 4/2 devil, and as all devils are, they are just a pain in the butt, doing all sorts of weird things. So this one has Undying, which means whenever a creature, when this permanent is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, you can bring it back and then put a +1 counter on it. So it just gets better when it dies. So it's kind of crazy.
So it's okay if it dies because it's a 4/2 and it comes back as a 5/3.
Exactly. So it's the little 2 toughness doesn't matter too much. It also has whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield from your graveyard, that creature deals damage equal to its power to a target creature for a player. So it's going to deal 4 damage coming in, then it's going to deal 5 damage coming in.
So this is another kind of, I guess, reminder with this deck. When you're playing it, you want to play things from your graveyard or for its madness cost. Those are the ways you want to cast things for this. You're going to have to hard cast some things, but ultimately to play this properly, you're going to want to hopefully have the stuff in your hand that you can play things from your graveyard. And then we have Bloodhall Priest. It's 2 and black and a red for a vampire cleric from Eldritch Moon. It's a 4/4, and when it enters the battlefield or attacks, if you have no cards in hand, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So it also has madness, so if you go to discard it, which it could be the last card in your hand, you discard it for its madness cost, it enters the battlefield, it triggers, and it does 2 damage to target creature or player. So nice little bit extra, little bit of removal, as well as a 4/4 that you can cast for its madness cost.
So Big Game Hunter, it's for 1 and 2 black, a little 1/1. It's a human rebel assassin, which is just kind of interesting. It's an assassin. So when it enters the battlefield, when it comes into play, so enters the battlefield, destroy target creature with power 1 or greater, 4 or greater. Sorry, I can't read without my glasses on. It can't be regenerated. So it's another one of those ones that just when it enters the battlefield, I'm going to kill that card. I'm going to kill your big.
And if they have regeneration on it, they can't use regenerate. And it's got madness 1.
It has madness 1. So it may look like 3, but it's probably only going to be 1.
Hopefully it's only going to be 1. And then we have another Nightshade Assassin for 2 and 2 black. It's 4. It's got first strike, which ultimately means you're going to hit first in combat damage phase. It's a 2/1. And when it comes into play or enters the battlefield, you may reveal X black cards in your hand. If you do, target creature gets -X until the end of the turn. So there's a lot of black in this deck. There's mostly black in this deck. So if you need to reveal 6 black cards, it also has a madness cost of 2. So instead of playing 4, you're going to discard it. You're going to show them that you have 5 black cards in your hand and remove something -5. The nice thing is that you get to choose. So you're not wasting mana to do like -5 to something when it doesn't only needs -3.
Yeah. All right, Gorgon Recluse.
She's pretty.
This is Vraska when she's hiding out. So it's a 2/4 for 3 and 2 black. And whenever it blocks or becomes blocked by a non-black creature, destroy that creature at the end of combat. So she's just gonna, whatever. I don't want you here.
Yeah.
And her madness cost is only 2. So she's another one that you want to use.
We have murderous consumption.
Compulsion.
Oh, compulsion. Consumption, whatever.
He's consuming that guy. Yeah.
1 and a black for sorcery. Destroy target tapped creature. So go ahead, swing at me. I want you to swing at me because I'm going to destroy this creature. It has its madness cost, which is the same.
That's okay.
As casting it, but that's okay.
It's destroying a creature for 2.
It's destroying a creature for 2. So it doesn't matter how you cast this, but yeah, nice little card.
Yeah. And Plague Crafter, which I use in all of my dying decks. He is for 2 and a black, and whenever he enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, and each player who can't discards a card. So
I do like how they
never happens to you. You can always sacrifice him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do like how they have put a lot of the newer cards.
Yeah, this is a newer card
in the set as well. And they didn't just say, "Oh well, let's go back into the
Ravnica, that one.
into the history of Magic." So this one here has been released multiple times. Meteor Golem is out again, and it's in Commander as well. So when Meteor Golem enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land creature an opponent controls. It does cost 7. Non-permanent, yeah. So it could be a planeswalker.
Could be one of those stupid enchantments that is causing a problem.
And it's a 3/3, so nice
it's
little
expensive,
artifact.
but it sure does a good job for you.
Yeah, and it's not unusual for you to have 7 mana in a Commander game.
Yeah.
So nice little end game removal. Yes. Speaking of removal,
in Garrick's Wake, this is one of Leslie's favorite cards. So for 7 and 2 black, destroy really hard to get. All creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. This is a board wipe, folks.
Yes. And it removes planeswalkers, which right now there's a lot of super friends out there. So people are playing planeswalker decks.
And I was watching a video about the Commander decks, and every Commander deck has a planeswalker.
Yeah.
In this rollout, which is interesting. Because planeswalkers are the thing again, so you need to get rid of those damn things.
The planeswalker
super friends
in this one we didn't put in our list for whatever reason, but we need to go back and go. I don't know how. We didn't copy and paste that one.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll find it. It's Obnixilis, but Avacyn's Judgment. This one is 1 and a red, but it has a madness of red and X, which allows you to pay more for it actually, and this is why you would want to. Avacyn's Judgment deals 2 damage divided as you choose among any target creature or player. However, if you play X, then you can deal X damage divided as you choose. So if you have lots of mana that you're not using that turn, just do it right to their face by discarding a card.
Yeah.
End the game.
Sure, why not?
It's great.
An Alchemist Greeting. It is a sorcery for 4 and a red, and it deals 4 damage to target creature. And his madness costs only 1 and a red. So he is much cheaper to use that to get 4 damage to a creature. It's awesome. I've got that in my madness decks for sure.
So this one we debated. It's Chaos Warp, 2 and a red. We weren't sure where to put it. But we ended up putting it in removal. So the owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, then you can put it onto the battlefield. So it's tricky because you could be giving them something that they really want. They're shuffling. It could be anything that they get to cast for free. So
it could be the card back again.
It might be worth the risk, though, if they have something that's really annoying on the battlefield. So it can be used for removal, or it can also be used for your own purposes. So maybe you return something back that has a good enter the battlefield trigger that you want to draw again. And so you put it in, shuffle it into your library, and then you can cast something on your own for free. So
it's named appropriately. It's chaos.
It's chaos.
What are you going to do? Who knows?
Who knows? And black-red, it's chaos. Dark Withering.
Dark Withering for 4 and 2 black. It's kind of creepy artwork here. It's an instant that you destroy target non-black creature, but a madness of 1. 1. So yeah, a 1
to 1
cost removal.
And you're gonna cast that.
It does have to be a non-black creature, but I only play black.
Please don't
play
cast this for 7 or for 6.
No, never. Never.
Mire in Misery is 1 and a black. It's a sorcery, and each opponent sacrifices a creature or enchantment. So that's including yourself, but you have lots of things that you can sacrifice that might do good things for you.
Yep. Nightmare Unmaking for 3 and 2 black. It's a sorcery. You can choose one. So exile each creature with power greater than the number of cards in your hand. Or you can exile each creature with power less than the number of cards in your hand. See where that goes.
And it is each creature.
One of those chaotic things.
So it does affect your cards.
It affects you too.
So think before you play.
Yeah, exactly.
Fiery Temper is a 2 red and 1 for 3 damage to any target. It's got a madness of 1. Again, you're going to cast this probably for 1 for 3 damage. Great low card.
It's in my madness decks too. Violent Eruption. This is for 1 and 3 red, so a little tricky to play, but for it's an instant, so it deals 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. And its madness is 1 and 2 red, so it's a little easier if you use it for madness, which you will.
You should. We have Warstorm Surge, which is 5 and a red. It's an enchantment though, so it stays on the battlefield. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target.
All those 2/2 zombies you're bringing in? That's a lot of damage.
2 damage, and it's any target. So it could be their face, it could be getting rid of their creatures. If you are bringing in a 6/6 demon or whatever.
And there you need to deal with this.
If it has Death Touch,
yeah,
then it's doing Death Touch damage because it's equal to its power.
Yeah. They need to get rid of it.
Yeah. It's a great enchantment. Yeah. Hopefully they have enchantment removal.
Yeah.
Or don't.
Well, you should. In the commander deck, you should have some sort of enchantment removal.
We
All
don't.
Right. We don't.
This deck doesn't have enchantment removal.
It has, it
has remove target.
But you have to remove your own, too. Yeah. Yeah. So... need something to get rid of some.
Every deck has a weakness, but we're going to talk about tweaking.
So other cool cards that are in this deck, besides Merciless, we'll just put Merciless here as well. His Merciless, it's the one that...
I'll put it.
Okay. So Stromkirk Occultist for 2 and a red. It is... whenever it deals combat damage, it's trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library and you may play that card, and its madness is 1 and a red. So, yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway.
So the next one we have is Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. It's 4 and 3 funny looking symbols, which are actually swamps that you can pay 2 life for. So it's a 2/2 with lifelink, and it does say right on the card for each black or swamp it costs, you may pay 2 life rather than paying its mana cost. So that's all that means, that little symbol. It's not a new mana thing. It's just you pay 2 life instead if you want. So 6 life, that would cost you +4. And whenever you cast a black spell, this guy. So you're going to cast a lot of black spells. It's great.
It's going to cause a lot of damage as well. It's going to get so big. Okay, so Wildfire Devils for 3 and a red. It is a 4/2 devil. There we are again with these devils. And when it enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, choose a player at random. That player exiles an instant or sorcery card from their graveyard, and you get to copy that card and cast it if you want without paying its mana.
Cool.
Yeah. So he's just, again, it's the devils. They're causing trouble.
And we have Aeon Engine, which is 5. Aeon Engine enters the battlefield tapped. Exile Aeon Engine, reverse the game order. Or the turn order. The game's turn order. So now instead of going clockwise, which you always go when you start the game, now we're tapping it to reverse. So, and you can do it again. And you just keep reversing the game order, which is ridiculous. And shenanigans. Oh, yeah. Oh, darn.
Only cause the chaos.
Well, but then it doesn't switch back, which is silly.
All right, so Hate Mirage for 3 and a red. And it's got some cool jackals on it. So it's a sorcery. Choose up to 2 target creatures you don't control. For each of those creatures, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste and exile them at the beginning of the next end step. So yeah, you get to basically steal their big creatures, and you're going to, hopefully they're going to block with those creatures. So then you're going to have, who cares if they die? You're trying to get rid of their big ugly creatures too. You're forcing their hand basically.
So what are you hoping to steal from other people then?
Oh, I'm hoping to steal things like their angels or their dragons or their flyers or something like that. That's really hard to deal with. And if I can throw it back in their face, they have to deal with it. So
cool.
You're gonna make sure you want to plan ahead and make sure that you've got something out there.
Yeah, like if all they have is 1/1s or something out, then don't steal those. That's silly. Yeah. So Bloodthirsty Blade is a nice little artifact equipment for 2. Now you're going to equip creature. The equipped creature gets +2/+0 and is goaded. And so goading is ultimately you're forcing that player to attack. So certain spells and abilities can goad a creature until the next turn of the controller of that spells or ability. That creature attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than that player available. So creature an opponent controls and activate this ability only anytime that you could cast a sorcery. So it really is meant to attach it to somebody else's creature and force them to attack somebody else.
Yeah.
And then the Planeswalker.
The Planeswalker, Obnixilus Reignited for 3 and a black. So it is a card draw thing. So for his +1 is you draw a card and you lose a life, but not such a big deal in Commander. And you can do his -3 right away and destroy a creature right away. So and his -8 is awesome. His emblem. Target opponent gets an emblem with whenever a player draws a card, you lose 2 life.
A player.
Yes.
So multiplayer game, you got 5-person commander. That person, next person's going to draw a card, they lose 2 life. The next person's going to draw a card, they lose 2 life. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So he really fits well with this deck.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
So there's lots of other cards that didn't really fit within like removal or card draw or whatever, but they're just other cards that are on theme based on madness or discard or other things that this deck needs. So the first one is from Under the Floorboards. It's 3 and 2 black. It has a madness cost of X and 2 black. So it's basically you put 3 2/2 black zombie creatures onto the battlefield. Or if you're paying the X cost or its madness cost, then it's X. And you also gain X life. So
yeah, you use that life to pay for things. You can get it back again. It's awesome. Malevolent Whispers for 3 and a red. There's a devil on his shoulder talking to him. It's a sorcery, so gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. And its madness is the same, but again, you're just using it to steal their good card, and then you're going to sacrifice it or something. That's we have a friend who likes to play that kind of shenanigans, stealing their stuff and then sacrificing it.
Yeah. And then Faith of the Devoted is 2 and a black, and it's an enchantment. And whenever you cycle or discard a card, and there is a lot of cycle lands in this deck, you may pay 1, and if you do, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. The nice thing about cycle is also you're discarding a card. So,
So that whole discard thing. Archfiend of Spite for 5 and 2 black. It's a 6/6 flying demon. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to this demon, that source's controller loses that much life unless they sacrifice that many permanents. So a madness cost of 3 and 2 black, so he comes in cheaper. Who cares? When he comes in, he's just you're going to use him to block, whatever. They're not going to want to swing.
He's a 6/6 flyer. This is one that they're going to want to get rid of for sure.
Yeah.
Bone Miser is 4 and a black. It's a zombie wizard 4/4. When you discard a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So you discard a creature card that has madness. You create a 2/2, that triggers. Then, because you have a madness, you're going to play that, and in that turn, you also get that creature that you just cast. Also, whenever you discard a land card, you get 2 mana that you can cast for whatever. So it's okay. Gets those lands in the graveyard. And whenever you discard a non-creature card or a non-land card, you get to draw a card. So not only have you discarded a creature that you can now cast for its madness, you've created a 2/2 zombie and you draw a card. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So many things happening.
It's doing a lot of stuff for you. Curse of Fool's Wisdom for 4 and 2 black. It's an enchantment. It's a curse that you put on another player.
Look at that curse.
In a library is reading a book you shouldn't be reading. Whenever an enchanted player draws a card, they lose 2 life and you gain 2 life. They're going to draw a card every turn. So, and its madness is 3 and a black. So it's a cheap way of really messing with them at the beginning of the game. Hopefully.
Great enchantments in this deck. Yeah. They've done a good job. So then, of course, mana fixing is really important. There's a few cards that do mana fixing. We'll go through them quickly. So Armillary Sphere. It's an artifact. It costs 2, and then it just allows you to pay 2 and tap it to sacrifice it, then search your library for 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, and shuffle your libraries. Just a card search.
Getting that stuff. And Solemn Simulacrum, which is a creature for 4. An artifact creature. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. And when it dies, you can draw a card. So it's a little card draw and little mana fixing.
And Rakdos Locket. Of course, this is a nice little Rakdos deck. Rakdos colors. 3, you put it on and you can add a black or a red, or you can pay 4 and sacrifice it to draw 2 cards.
Right on. And Soul Ring, which is in every commander deck pretty much. For 1, you get to make 2 colorless mana.
It's a staple. You're going to probably, hopefully find it for every commander deck you build. And then we have a nice little Scarecrow. Scaretiller costs 4. When it becomes tapped, you get to choose one. So it's a creature, so you're going to attack with it, or maybe there's other ways you can tap it, but you may pay or put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, or you can return a target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So remember how we were cycling or putting a land in your graveyard? Well, this little guy brings them back.
All right, and speaking of all those lands, we'll go into our land set for this.
So lands, how important are lands in your opinion to Commander? Or any Magic?
Like special lands?
Yeah.
A lot. Because there's so many ways that you can use those lands for your theme that you're playing. And yeah, a lot of these cards obviously are expensive too. So any extra mana that you can get, some of those mana tap for 2. There's one that we're going to show you that taps for black and red. That sort of thing. That's again going to help you with those large mana costs. Anyway, Drowned Temple is a add colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can pay 3 and return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, bring it back.
So yeah.
And then Exotic Orchard, it just taps for any color of mana. Great little card, any mana, love it.
Is it an opponent controls?
Yes.
Oh.
So I mean,
okay, cool.
Still.
I never noticed that before.
Which helps you too with some of those if you've stolen their cards, because there's a lot of stealing cards. You might need to trigger or pay some of the mana, and you don't have it in
the
your mana
bonuses
pool,
on those cards. Right on.
Yeah.
Gaia Reach Sanitarium. This is from Shadows over Innistrad, and you can add colorless mana, or you can pay 2, and each player draws a card, then discards a card. So it helps you and might help them a little bit, but if he only has 1 card or no cards in hand and he draws a card, he has to discard it. So it's really going to waste his cards for him.
And we have Oakham Refuge, enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Not particularly awesome land, but it is either black or red. Yep. You need some dual lands in your deck. So,
Ash Barrens is a colorless, and it's just got land cycling, so you can.
So what is cycling?
The basic land cycling, you pay 1 and you can go look for one of your basic lands. That's what it is.
But
so
you
this
discard
this one isn't cycling from your hand. It's out there. You have to pay 1 and get rid of this card.
Yeah.
Right? Discard this card
from your hand.
It's from your hand. Sorry.
Yeah.
You discard it from your hand. But you have to pay 1 to do that. So, a little different. Well, I guess cycling has
all the
payment.
cycling
Yeah,
has
cycling
payment.
has payment.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yes, that's basically what cycling is you're going to pay the cycling cost, and then you discard it from your hand and draw a card or do whatever it says. So In this case, it's discard this card, search your library for basic land. Right. So Baron Moor has cycling as well. It enters the battlefield tapped, or if you choose to, you can tap it, or you can pay 1 and discard this card and draw a card. So if you need card draw instead of land, then you can cycle it for card draw.
Bloodfell Caves. It is enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you gain a life. It's another one of those dual lands, black or red.
Mm-hmm. And same with Cinder Barons, another little dual land. It enters the battlefield tapped. Yeah. So does either or.
You only have 2 colors in this deck, so it's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Command Tower, another staple to commander decks, and it's add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Yeah. So black and red.
Can be whatever color you want.
Yeah.
And then Evolving Wilds, that's another like search your library for basic land. So it is important to have some basic land in your deck. There was a few other cards we talked about already that search for basic land. So you do need either swamps or mountains in this deck, which it definitely has, but put it onto the battlefield tapped.
Mm-hmm. Forgotten Cave. So this one enters the battlefield tapped, and it's the cycling, can be red.
And this one cycles to draw a card.
Cycles to draw a card, yeah.
And then Memorial to Folly. This is a great little card. I love this card. It's from Dominaria. Enters the battlefield tapped, but you can pay 3 and sacrifice it to return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So another little return from graveyard, which is in land form.
And a Mortuary Mire is similar. It enters battlefield tapped, and when it enters battlefield, you may put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they're closer to you.
Yeah, returning it from your graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Myriad Landscape. It enters the battlefield tapped, but you can pay 2 to sacrifice it and search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type. Yeah, and then put them onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. The nice thing about this is that it doesn't just go into your hand; they go onto the battlefield tapped. So get rid of the 1 land and get 2 land that share a land type.
Rakdos Carnarium. It is a one of those ones that we talked about that let you have both black and red, so it actually taps for 2. But when you first play it, you have to return the land to your hand. You have to be punished a little bit for having that mana ramp there. But
that's okay, and that's important because you have to not play this your first turn.
Yeah.
So think about it before you play a card. Rakdos Guildgate enters tapped. It pays for either.
Yeah. Rix Madai Dungeon Palace. It is add a colorless, or you can pay 1 and black and a red and tap it, and each player discards a card. Sorry, I need to put my glasses on for this one. Play this ability only anytime you could play a sorcery. So there's your using that land for your discard thing, and you're making them discard as well, and they might not be as prepared as you are for it. So
you want to discard, so nice little land that allows you to do that. Also, there's Terramorphic Expanse. Sacrifice Terramorphic Expanse to search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Why would you have this? Why wouldn't you just have a card that comes in as land? Because you don't know what land you might need. Maybe you have all black on and you need some red. You're going to sacrifice this and search for a red. So it does happen. It gives you a little bit of fixing in there. This one does not tap for any color of mana. So you cannot put this on the battlefield and just use it for colorless. When you tap it, you sacrifice it and search for a card. So that is important to remember for new players.
Temple of the False God. It is adding 2 colorless mana and activated only if you control 5 or more lands, which you're gonna have. So it's a commander staple for sure.
Yeah. And the last land is Sanctum of Eternity, which taps for colorless, or you can pay 2 to return your commander to your own or commander you own from the battlefield to your hand. Activate this ability only during your turn. So we did talk about later saving your commander from being put back into the command zone or exiled and put back into the command zone, because it costs you 2 more to cast it every single time you cast it. So you don't want that to happen. This one, if you have 2 mana left up, you have this on the battlefield, you can just be like, nope, I'm just going to put it back in my hand. You can cast it again for the 3 that it's worth. So
yeah, awesome.
There's also
handy
10 swamps and 10 mountains in this. So 39 land altogether, which is a lot. And how would you tweak this deck?
So a lot of the decks that you get that are pre-built have a lot of lands in them, a little more than you normally would want. And that's because that gives you Wizards wants to give you a chance to take those lands out and put your own cool cards in that you might want to play. So a couple things that I was thinking of that I would want to do in this deck is a little bit more using that madness and that discarding a little bit more, because there are more cards that do that. There's so many. So one of the first ones that came to my mind was just plain old Tormenting Voice. It is a sorcery that lets you, is it one in a red? Yeah. I always forget how much
one
it
in
is.
red.
And you get to discard a card, and then you get to draw 2 cards. So you want to discard cards with Madness deck, and you're going to draw 2 more cards, so it's easily replacing itself. Another little creature that I really like is Insolent Neonate, and it is a vampire, of course, for 1 in a red, and it has Menace, 1/1, and it has discard a card and sacrifice him, and you get to draw a card. So it's just a good little card draw engine, and it's another way to trigger that discard. Then these other ones that we discovered today when we were looking at these was Azra Oddsmaker for 1 and a black and a red. It's a 3/3 warrior. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may discard a card. If you do, choose a creature. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw 2 cards. So
many things that does, and it only costs 3.
Yeah.
This you should try to find and upgrade your deck with it.
Totally. From Battle Bond.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about the next one?
Sure. We have Rakdos Guild Mage, which is a zombie shaman. It costs either 2 red or 2 black, or any combination of those. It's a 2/2. It's just got a nice little engine. Discard a card, costs 4, but discard a card. Target creature gets -2/-2 until the end of turn, which is great for removal, as well as discarding for triggering your madness costs. Or you can just create some goblins for 4, which you can sacrifice if you don't need, or you can just swing in with them because they're 2/1s.
Yeah.
So.
And another one from the, what is it? Amonkhet, Merciless Javelinier.
Yeah.
It is a Minotaur warrior that is a 4/2 for 2 in a black and a red, so 4/2 for 4. And you can pay 2, discard a card, and put a -1 counter on a target creature. That creature can't block this turn.
And the nice thing about -1 counters is that they stay.
Don't go away.
It's not just till the end of turn. So you can do that the next turn and just keep pinging away at it, adding -1 counters and discarding cards. And that's a great card for this
stuff going on.
And then we have Olivia, mobilized for war. A nice little vampire knight. Shauna put this one in here. It costs 3 for a 3/3, which is great on curve. Flying. And when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may discard a card. So you automatically get to discard a card just by playing creatures. And if you do, you get to put a 1/1 counter on that creature. It gains haste until the end of turn and becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Lots of things that card does that will be great for this little deck. So
I don't think that's an expensive card to get.
So yeah, that is kind of some of the things that we thought might help you tweak this deck. Ultimately, this deck has a combination of 39 lands. You probably only need 33 to 35. So right off the bat, you can take 4 land out, take out a couple swamps and a couple mountains.
Deck, right?
It's only a 2-color deck, so you might even be able to go down to 33. The card types in this, you have 9 sorceries, 19 creature cards, 1 planeswalker, 6 artifacts, 5 enchantments, and 5 instant cards. So that gives you an idea of where you might be able to put things in and what you might want to do for your deck. There is also 11 red cards. 24 black cards, and then multicolored one
black.
One multicolored card, which is very interesting. Basically, it's just your commander that's your multicolored cards. Only 1 multicolored card. They're mostly all black. So that is a little bit of knowledge that helps kind of what mana you're going to need or what you might want to take out, as well as what cards you're going to play. Whenever you play a black card, this happens. It's probably going to happen.
That Son of Yawgmoth that makes you able to use life to pay for black. He's out there. You don't even have to pay black. You can pay with your life with those.
Exactly.
So it's interesting.
And then mana curve. How's the mana curve on this?
It's actually really low.
Yeah.
Technically. Doesn't have a lot of cards that have a high mana cost, and the ones that do, a lot of them have madness, which is less. So you're going to be pretty aggressive with.
So
this
how
deck.
many of each for those that are listening?
It is 39 0 cost,
which is your land.
Your lands, of course, and 3 1 cost, 6 2 cost, and 10 3 cost, and 8 4 and up cost.
Yeah, so there's only 8
that
are above. Seemed like there was more than that when we were talking about it, but yeah, no, 3 is kind of the sweet deal in there, which is great for a little Rakdos deck.
Yeah.
So that is Merciless Rage. We hope that you've enjoyed the deep dive into that and our opinions and how you can play it, as well as how you can tweak it. And we will be joining you in a couple days to go over the Populate deck, which is Primal Genesis, which is one of my favorites that we're going to be going through. So hopefully we'll see you then. And in the meantime, tap those magic cards and have fun doing it. See you later, guys.